Okay, everybody, welcome. Y voy a decirlo en español también. Estamos con Mark Guevarra de Equally Blessed. Esos son católicos que están comprometidos a igualdad, una total igualdad para las personas LGBTQ+. Vamos a tener esta conversación en inglés porque Mark es de Canadá, estuvo aquí hace poquito con su grupo de personas para vivir un poco la experiencia de la JMJ, sí, de la JMJ, oyeron muy bien, y vamos a hablar un poco con Mark acerca de qué vivieron ellos, cómo les fue. Ahora Mark, como dije anteriormente, pues solo habla inglés. Y la entrevista, que tengo que decir es pregrabada, la hicimos en inglés, pero tenemos a una persona maravillosa que nos ayudó a traducir todo y para que ustedes entiendan, porque es una conversación muy linda que todos debemos escuchar. Así que aquí les dejo la entrevista maravillosa que le hicimos a Mark Guevarra de Equally Blessed. Hi, Mark.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm very well.
You're tired.
I'm exhausted, and you might hear that my voice is not very good because I've been talking with so many people and cheering and screaming. It's just been exhausting, but wonderful.
You came here from Canada?
Yes.
With your, I will say, organization?
Yeah.
Or how many people did you come with?
There were 7 people in total, and this group is based in the United States. And I'm part of one of the groups in Canada that's related to Equally Blessed. And so when I heard about this group from the States coming, I said, hey, Canada, can I join them? And they said, absolutely, we'll give you money. So I emailed them and they said, sure, the more the merrier. And so here I am in Panama. It's been a wonderful, wonderful week full of surprises, full of blessings, full of joys. And yes, very exhausting.
And first, because I don't know the name, in Panama we call peregrinos.
Yes.
And in
English it's pilgrims.
Pilgrims,
yes.
Exactly. For me, it was such a lovely, awesome, joyful surprise.
Yes.
To see you guys all over the place with your sign, walking freely.
Yes.
As an activist, I know what the people, the LGBTQ people experience every day. Yes. Here in our country, and it's not very good, I have to say. Yes. Walking freely, they only can do it in the Pride. Mm-hmm. But see you with your sign and everywhere, and if I'm not mistaken, you were treated beautifully.
Yes.
And that makes me so happy. Yeah. And so that's why you're here, and I want you to talk about that experience.
I'm happy to. Thank you so much for having me be able to share my experience and my story. But yes, from the moment we landed, it's been so positive. It was a surprise for some people. They were like scratching their eyes thinking, is that true that there are people wearing a rainbow sash in World Youth Day? And so they came up to us and we told them who we are, and they were so happy. And they're not just, LGBT pilgrims. They could be parents, they could be brothers and sisters. We even had some priests who smiled at us and waved. So the entire Catholic community recognizes that, we're part of the church. And so it was very much a very positive experience to be able to be a sign of hope for these young people. Now, to be honest with you, I was a little bit nervous. Mm-hmm. I didn't know what kind of reception I would get. Are we going to have conservatives come and protest us?
Did you talk about it before you came with everybody?
They had a formation process where they were trained a little bit. I was in Canada, and so I was not part of that. In my own self, in my city in Canada, I do a little bit of activism, raising awareness in the general community, but also in the LGBT community about being a person of faith and being a gay person.
Yes, because I don't know, here they separated a little bit, and also they are like, oh, no,
it's not possible.
No, possible. And we don't believe in God, and we don't care,
yes.
because God doesn't believe in us, or the church doesn't believe enough, it
Yes.
doesn't accept us. So it's like you're in the middle of two worlds.
Yes.
And it's like,
How is that possible?
I know, in the middle of two worlds, in the sense like, none of those two worlds accept you.
Right.
100%.
100%. There's
So
still
that must
challenges.
be difficult, right?
Yes.
It's very challenging.
It really is, but in a way, the Catholic upbringing that I had helped me to recognize that Catholicism is not just about following rules or prohibitions or all these beliefs, but being a Catholic means having a relationship with God. And so because of this relationship I have with God, that allows me to be a person of courage, a person of wisdom, a person who can stand up for those who have been oppressed, and even if that's within the church. So personally, I don't see there's a real contradiction when you come to the heart of what it means to be a Catholic, a Christian. There should not be a difference between what it means to be a gay person, an LGBT person, and what it means to be a Christian.
But the church, let's be honest,
Yes.
the church has rules.
Yes, the official teaching.
Exactly. And one of those rules is not to accept you guys.
Yes. And
So it's hard. I understand,
Yeah.
So what do you do?
What do I do? Well, I have to tell you, almost 1 year ago, I was fired. I'm a church worker, pastoral associate, so like a catechist. I had the same education as the priest. I was working in a parish. There was about 5,000 people in the parish. And there was an investigation, and I was fired for being gay, being in a relationship, having a daughter, and starting a gay Catholic group in my city.
You were fired by the church.
I was fired by the church.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it was very traumatizing, but after that I had to listen to my heart and think about what God wants me to do. And one thing that happened was all of these people, not just in my city, but around the world, send me emails of support saying, I am gay, I am lesbian, I have a daughter, I have a son, I have a brother, I have a sister. And I'm like, they need to be heard. Those stories, those pains need to be shared. And as a church, we're not listening. And I feel passionate about having the whole community hear those voices. Yesterday at the closing of Mass, Pope Francis talked about find something that you're passionate about and do it. And I feel this is what God's called me to do, to help my LGBT brothers and sisters to celebrate each other's joys.
Do you think that that's the key from now on?
Yes.
For people to, as activists,
Yes.
To try to change people's minds? Because obviously the way has been doing doesn't work. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. For me, I'm not gay,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm a woman, so I know.
Mm-hmm.
But what is maybe feeling, I can
Yes.
feel because I've been, as a minority.
Mm-hmm.
And I say minority because we are treated as a
Yeah.
minority as women.
Yeah.
So I feel very connected
Yes.
in that sense with the LGBTQ
Yes.
community, right?
Absolutely.
So as an activist and as a strong activist, that those conversations, I get so mad, and I just like, and it doesn't get me anywhere.
Yeah.
It doesn't get me anywhere. So I think it's like, why is that person thinking that way?
Yeah. It's very frustrating. But one person that I always keep in mind is Martin Luther King Jr.
Mm-hmm.
When they interviewed him and they asked him, what if you don't see at the end of segregation during your lifetime? And he said this. He said, the moral arc of the universe is long, but it bends towards justice. Right?
Always, yes.
And he may not see it. This is part of being an activist, is trusting that you do a little tiny part along this long journey in our human story to be more free. And the same thing, Abraham Lincoln in the United States talked about, ending slavery. It's not going to be a straight line. You're going to sometimes go through swampy areas. It's going to be crooked. There's going to be rocks there. There's going to be a mountain there. But we have to persist. And this is the heart of what it means to be a Christian, never to lose hope. The faith that we share as Christians is that hope always wins, right? And so even in activism, we have to maintain this hope. In spite of, even within our own LGBT community, struggling and arguing within ourselves, I think it's in that dynamic, creative tension that the Holy Spirit works and comes alive, if we allow her to work within that.
And you don't have to be like a Christian.
Yeah.
I mean, I am not, and I'm here talking to you, and I understand perfectly what you're saying.
What I'm saying, right?
Exactly, and I respect it. I started to admire you a little bit more in the sense that, wow, this guy, you know, he believes in something so much.
The greater cause.
That he doesn't care what happens to him, in the sense that he's gonna, you know, and that's a quality that a lot of LGBT people have, because it's a constant fight of being recognized as a human being.
Absolutely.
But I have this, and I'm so happy that you're here, because you can tell me that happens in Canada, for example, in the sense like here they tell us constantly, what are you activists for? What? You can do whatever you want here. We don't tell you not to do something. We just don't want you to do it publicly.
Right.
Or we just don't want you to do it here. Or we just don't want you to.
Yeah. To me, that's very difficult, because I think to be named, to be recognized, to be honored, to be celebrated, that's what it means to be a human being. I think Pope Francis talked about in the welcoming ceremony, he said, love does not dispel differences, but harmonizes them into unity. Love does not build walls, but builds bridges.
Oh, I love that
It's
one.
beautiful, isn't it?
Oh, I'm going to use that forever and ever. I have used it a couple of times already.
Yeah.
Yes, and it's like, hey, what are you talking like that? Did you hear what he said?
Yeah.
He said, be a bridge, not a wall.
Not a wall.
And you're being a wall right now? Man, what's going on with you? Did you
true.
listen what he said? You know?
I mean, it's funny that the Christian community are often the people that need to hear that message the most. Because I think what happens in religion is that we reduce it to, I'll do this, therefore I'll get that. Instead of this dynamic, creative tension, creativity, exploring to the newness that is revealed to us all the time. And that grieves me about any religion, and that religion can be reduced to that. It's very, very sad for me.
Now, I have to ask you this, as a Christian and as a person who came here with a group of people to hear the Pope.
Yes.
The church is going through a very difficult time. They're
Oh,
losing a lot of people with right, because what they have been doing is awful. We have to accept that. We cannot deny it. In the end, and it's very different from but not all the priests do it. Yes, but the boss covers it. You know.
Terrible.
So what is your thinking about that, and how do you respond to people like me who criticize it constantly?
I'm glad you asked, because in about 2 weeks' time in Toronto, I've been working on a document with others for Dignity Canada, the LGBT Catholic group, as a response to this big meeting the Pope is having in Rome in February about the sex abuse crisis. What we propose is that the Church's teachings on sexual morality is not being accepted, has not been for at least 40 years, 50 years, when Paul VI and the Church had those documents about contraception, abortion, all of those things. And what we need to say is that we need to listen again, to revise these teachings, to listen to everyone's life story and say, hey, what can we say in common? Is there a universal morality, a universal ethic that we as human beings can live by? Because clearly these prohibitions are not working. You know, in the United States alone, 1 in 4 Catholics leave the church. That's about 49 million people, Catholics, leave the Catholic Church. One of the top 5 reasons, LGBT, the teachings on sexuality, women's ordination, all of these hot topics.
So what you're saying is, basically, if the church opens up a little bit more, you'll have more quality people trying to get to teach to be a priest,
Yes.
for example.
Let's just be honest and open.
Exactly, because then we just put a wall.
Yes, exactly.
We're putting a wall, and we're not letting good people that maybe wants to change the world and who believes in God and who believe not to teach it.
Yes.
And otherwise we're letting all the
people go.
bad people,
Yeah.
no, all
Oh,
the
bad
bad people to
yes.
come. Because I'm gonna be honest, if I'm a man who wants to abuse children, the best way is to go to the church and be a priest. Because if I get caught, I just go to another.
Yes.
They change me. I don't have I am above the law, and I have access to kids 24/7.
Yeah, this is terrible institution in the church that we've created. First of all, for a young man who might think he's gay, what do? I can be a priest. If I become a priest, I don't have to say that I'm going to get married, I'm not going to have kids. And then when I become a priest, maybe there are other priests there who are gay. I found some other people that and then the life, like I know in the Catholic Church, priests in many parts of the world are still they're like princes. They're put on a pedestal.
Oh, we saw this.
And they love it.
This past week.
And they love it. So, if you're a gay, and then you're right. We create some situations where you have just the priests and young people. Thankfully in many parts of North America and other parts of the world, we're becoming very more strict about making sure the priest is not the only person in the room, that the door has glass windows.
You don't do that with teachers, for example. You don't do that. That's not a... I mean, imagine we have to do that. I mean...
I know, it's terrible.
It's horrible. Then something is wrong.
Yes.
If you have to... Let's not leave the priest alone with the kids.
I know, it's terrible.
I mean, but to be honest, I don't see it changing. I don't see it changing. And why?
Yeah.
I mean, why is that? It's so easy after all this happened and after all this got uncovered and still getting uncovered of all the countries
all around the world.
All around the world, and it's more and more coming.
For decades and decades.
It will be so easy for the church to go and say, hey, you know what? We're going to do this, and you're going to have to go strict for the law, and we're not going to allow this. But they have not said that. Why?
First of all, I would say, Pope Francis talks about this, it's fear, not faith. We're afraid to confront these demons within us, amongst us, instead of calling it out and saying, we need to change, we need to do better. Thankfully, there are places in the world where we do this, but there's also culture. Like I know in the Philippines, for example, if there's a priest who's abusing someone and that person tells the police, there's the shame on the family, not on the priest.
Oh, it happened here too.
Right? So very similar culture, and that needs to be challenged. Culture and religion, there's an interrelationship, but the Christianity must always be purifying culture. There has to be conversation between religion and culture, culture and religion, to inform one another of what is right, because we learn lots of things from culture. For example, women's rights. In the Catholic Church, for example, in the early 1500s in the Philippines, they didn't allow Filipinos to be priests because they thought we were uncivilized. It took a few generations before they allowed that.
Exactly.
Right? And women in the Catholic Church were not allowed to have university degrees till the last 100, 200 years, because they were inferior. But yes, change does happen, maybe slow, not as fast as we want it. I'm still hopeful.
Yes, I know, and hope is exactly.
That's the heart of it.
Exactly. So, and to tell you the honest truth, I wish I was that hopeful, but I've seen it, and it's like we're in 2019, and we have the information that this is happening, and we
need to change.
And I don't see the change coming, not even close.
Yeah.
So the question that I'm gonna ask you: how do you keep your faith in that? Does you have a little thing on your brain that's different than mine?
I don't know.
I mean, it's like that's the question.
It's a good question.
Let me tell you, I have this question with my sister.
Okay.
She believes in God, and she said, I do not. I am one of. I do not. But I respect her, and I feel like a lot of others feel like, well, I envy. I want to be those people who believe totally that is. I mean, I believe more in science and that more scientific. So it's hard for me to reconcile both of them.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you. But I respect it.
Yes.
I respect you.
Yeah.
I respect the whole all the people that went and opened their houses to people they didn't know to come and live with them.
Yeah.
I mean, that is what a beautiful people.
It is.
What beautiful person you have to be. What awesome human being you have to be to do that.
Yeah. To open your doors.
To open your doors. For me, those are the stars of the youth experience here.
And I have to say, like, I respect people of no faith at different journeys. You know, when I was working in the parish, I saw everyone at different stages in life. People who have come to faith, they're new, people who've rejected faith, and my job is to simply accompany. This is the word that Pope Francis constantly uses. Just accompany, walk with our friends and brothers and sisters in Christ, even if they don't know God's name. You know, the question about faith and or religion and science, you know, as a Catholic, it's a non-issue. You know, we believe, as St. Thomas Aquinas says, authentic faith does not mean you sacrifice your intellect. You must use your brain,
no,
right?
And my sister's brilliant. And I'm telling you,
Yeah.
I always say, but no, and I'm always trying to get the scientific thing. Explain to me.
Yeah.
Why? I mean, you are, obviously you're brilliant.
Yeah.
Tell me now, why? Why do you believe this?
Yes.
And she answered me, I only do.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I have
I just do.
I have a daughter. She's 5 years old. And every day I can have a choice to say, you know, Emily, the world is a dark and scary and dim place, and there are a lot of challenges. And I'm not going to hide her from that truth. It is full of brokenness. But I also want to present to her that there is light. There is hope. Just like you said, people who will always open their doors, their hearts to you. And I need for her to see both, the reality of the word. I don't want her to be blind to the injustices, but I also want her to see the great hope that's in the world.
It's beautiful, yes. And that, I will take that experience with La JMJ.
Yes.
You know, that for a week we had, what a beautiful country we had.
Yes.
And I just thought, why can't we have that forever? I mean, why it's going on?
Yeah.
Why can't you just have that forever? I mean, because we obviously have beautiful people.
Yes.
And people who are willing to sacrifice themselves for the others to have a beautiful experience.
Yes.
So that taught me a lot. I'm a humanist.
Yes.
I believe in people. I believe in humans, you know. For example, when I saw you in your group with their sign in the middle of the Cinta Costera, for me, I almost cried.
Yes.
I said, "Oh my goodness, look at this is so beautiful!" Oh my God, you know, because I thought, this is a. I don't see it as a little change. It was a big change.
Huge. Yeah.
It's huge.
It's a sign of faith. It's a sign of joy.
It's a sign of a sign of acceptance.
Yes.
I mean, you can do it. See, I mean, we were talking about your experience before the interview, but I want you to tell them because you went there and you were walking with the sign, and what happened?
Oh, so many beautiful things. Of course, you know, I think when you see so many people, you feel a little numb. You don't even notice anybody anymore. So we had lots of people just walking by. And then you had some people who they scratched their eyes like, is that real? Is that really a rainbow? They come up to us and they share their story about themselves, you know, about how they wish they could be out. You know, I remember giving a button, someone from our group gave a button to someone who took it with great pride, but hid it away because they couldn't tell anyone in their group. We saw young people who, they left their group behind, they walked around, they came to us, they were just crying about being able to see us and how much joy and hope that gave them, affirmation of who they are. There are very few negative experiences. I didn't experience anything overt, like somebody saying explicitly, we think you should get out of here. But I did see, you know, a few whispers, a few murmurs here and there.
Which I told you that was different because in other, if it wasn't for la JMJ, you will get like yelled at.
Yeah. Oh wow.
So if they did it like very, respectfully, I mean that's an advance.
Yeah.
You know.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow,
yes.
wow, wow.
Yes. But you know, and I didn't see it in social media either.
Yeah.
Which I was, they're going to destroy them in social media. They're going to say, why are you guys doing here?
Yeah.
None.
None.
I didn't see none. On the contrary, I saw people like accept it.
Yeah.
You know, say, oh, look, oh yeah, they were fine. They were good. Oh yes, I mean, it was.
It's amazing.
It's amazing.
Even when I was fired, I received over 600 emails. Not one was negative. You know, and even on the Facebook posts and the comments, the overwhelming majority was positive.
And what happened with that firing? How long ago?
This was almost 1 year ago. So February the 6th last year was when I was fired, and then
so it
December.
was pretty recently.
Yeah, 1 year anniversary coming up.
And it didn't change anything in the sense of the church didn't say anything afterwards, or did the people who went to church did accept that also? They let it happen? Because that has to be hard.
It was very hard. And it was not just hard for me, but it was hard for so many of the families, the young people, the teachers that I worked with in our parish. They were very supportive. I built very strong relationships with them in the work that I did. And families said, Mark, we're standing with you. We you know, many of them left the parish. Some of them couldn't even be Catholic anymore because this was so traumatizing for them. And if this is a small picture of what happens in the rest of the world in the Catholic family, that says a lot. And yes, even if we're in North America, maybe a little bit more advanced in this, I think in the rest of the world, this is a reality that at the end of the day, if we're called to love, then we must love even those we disagree with. And yeah, so, you know, today I asked myself, like I'd mentioned to you, what does God want me to do? And this past year has been amazing. And really, coming to World Youth Day has been like this wonderful highlight experience of my 1 year. I've been speaking with LGBT conferences and giving workshops and talks and, you know, doing interviews just like this. I post on social media, you know, things that I've learned, things that I've studied. So yes, I've become, the spark has turned into a fire, and my passion, as Pope Francis says, that I've now discovered is propelling me to help, you know, as Martin Luther King Jr. said, continue in this long journey towards justice for all people.
So, to put in other words, a lot of LGBT people who are watching right now or hearing us, they're saying, I've been there, because that happens a lot here. They don't let me go to the church. I have to either go quietly without saying who I really am. And that makes me feel bad because I'm going into a church lying.
Yeah,
so
right.
it doesn't feel right.
A hypocrite.
Exactly. Like I feel like a hypocrite. And when I say it, it happens what happened to you, right? And so they go to another church, the evangelist, or they say, they open and it's, please come here. Oh, yes. And that's part of the thing that you can say that why the church is losing so many.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. Now, I wouldn't say all of the other Christian churches are welcoming. In fact, they might be even more anti-gay than the Catholic Church. But I can say, you know, what I would say to my LGBT brothers and sisters, siblings in this country is, first of all, find a community of support. You know, your chosen family. If your biological family has difficulty with you, build that community. You know, find your allies. And yes, if your church rejects you, certainly find another faith community or develop within yourself. There are so many resources. Unfortunately, you know, the ones that I know are English speaking, but there must be other Spanish-speaking resources that people of faith who are LGBT can access. In my country, there are a number of denominations that are gay-affirming, that are inclusive. My partner is actually a Presbyterian Protestant minister, and he works with the United Church of Canada, and he does LGBT ministry. And so he reaches out to those who have faith, LGBT people, and want to maintain a relationship with God and Christianity and a church, but also integrate their LGBT identity. And so you have to find that. Slowly in time, hopefully there's more and more. But again, at the heart of it, try not to lose hope. I know it's very hard, but as someone who's gone through a lot myself, the greatest thing I think we have as human beings is hope. And it's not just optimism, it's a deep and sincere truth that tomorrow there will be sunshine, that tomorrow, your tears will be wiped away, that that death turns into new life, right? This is the Christian message, but I think it's also a human message.
Oh yeah, and also not enjoy the journey of the fight.
Oh, the fight, yes.
Exactly. It will be like, maybe, like I said, maybe I will die and
it doesn't happen.
Maybe I will die and still I will not be able to enjoy that announcement when Panama says, same-sex marriage and you can adopt. Maybe I will die. I hope not. But I'm gonna be fighting until so everybody.
Yes.
And I'm gonna enjoy that fight. I'm going to be enjoying that fight, So that's...
even if not for me, for my daughter, for her kids, for the future generations,
exactly.
It takes
and
time.
New generations are totally thinking differently than us.
It's true.
Right?
Yeah.
They're like...
These millennials, they just get it.
Yes, they're like, I don't care.
Right?
I mean, what did you I don't care what you get married, I don't care.
Right.
I don't care. I mean, what do you think? They're like, they just don't understand why you're not letting them.
Yeah. And I think this is a beautiful message. When the Vatican had recently the Synod on the Youth, one of the big things that first came out was the church needs to apologize to young people.
Oh, yes.
Because they haven't listened. And Pope Francis again talked about that at his closing homily. He said, you need to speak up. You don't think that you're the future, you're the now. And you need to, and I love this, make the adults feel nervous. And trust me, when we were wearing those rainbow sashes, we saw some of those priests, they were feeling nervous inside.
I know they feel nervous every time that Pope talks.
Yes, right?
Yes, they feel nervous. They feel nervous.
And rightly so, because I think Jesus did that. Jesus challenged those who were comfortable. Faith is not, I got it all. I figured it all out. Faith is trusting in the unknown. Period. Right?
Thank you so much. You're adorable.
Oh, I'm so grateful for this. I thank you.
I thank you. Y bueno, esta ha sido la entrevista. Gracias por estar en sintonía del show de Gabby Gnazzo. Los quiero mucho y ya saben, a seguir luchando, a seguir creyendo en lo que ustedes creen y tenemos que ser más tolerantes y aceptar a todo el mundo, porque todos somos diferentes y todos creemos en diferentes cosas. ¿Ok? Los quiero. Chao.